Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us again for Album Review Saturdays 2025. This is episode 42. If you're new to the channel, the show, this is an extension of the article section of beyondyourradio.com. Yes, I'm still blogging using the old fashioned way, no AI. I do my own manic thing, and this YouTube version allows us panelists to come on, but also allows us to do a little bit more than just the three reviews that are on the article section. So remember, there it is. It's there for you. Any way you'd like it to be, either written or you can come here for the verbal side and visual. There's also links there provided too that will get you into the albums, the sales of them, links to personnel and people. So if you like what you see, what you hear, obviously we'd love for you to click the subscribe button, but also, to get in with us on this. We'd love to know what you think about these albums, but I'll ask you again at the end. So there's a lot to mow through on this album review, Saturdays 2025, episode 42. And yes, it is not Saturday. My apologies for that. There was also a timetable issue for me, a deeper struggle engaging in the listening of this musical selection this week, but more so to the crushing timetable and whirling work around me that is very much self-inflicted. Boy, does that fit on one of these albums below. It was a struggle to pick the three out of the many albums that I was able to get through over the last 2 weeks, considering the genres, expectations, and what we tried to set up, into the YouTube version of the show, as well as knowing I would be alone again for this particular episode. So I try to crush it, and don't worry, next week, not only will Dan be back, I think we're going to have a little bit more on the panels too, going forward for the next couple of times. So when it came to making our first choice, we took an artist in quandary between a style that began his career and gave him the opportunity and finding his solo voice, struggling on this record to kind of commit to one or the other, or even potentially trying to do both. Then let's step away outside the avant metal progressive box for a band that is beyond today, despite what their band name tells you. The captivating listen is blistering musical and vocal experience on struggle and a choice that must be made. Then I dive into an indie band I've been letting percolate for a few years. And they gained my ear here and there with intriguing growth and that. But the latest thing, they got me full on as they just killed what I was expecting in ridiculous fashion. Yeah, note on the kill. So let me get your ears on these three, and don't forget that stay in here. We've got a multitude of extras. So I'm going to start with Richard Ashcroft, Lovin' You. Richard Ashcroft has two musical embodiments in his songwriting that all stem from something he kind of overdoes on this album. But I still love him anyway. Yes, it is love. Or the hope on this record that seems to pour out, and it does that from time to time. I'm sure it's his musical spirit of sorts, but in prior releases, the music has a characteristic of reality-based loving and that reality-based compassion. Okay, I'm going to call it a sincerity and careful depth of spreading of positivity, hope, and overall sense of warmth. I respect it. I enjoy it. I don't like it when it's this thick. Hell, just look at the position and color of the cover, and you can feel it. Acoustic guitar may have thrown me off a bit because there's a lot more of this than that. For me, I've always been able to delineate between Ashcroft's solo efforts and the Verve. But as of late, it's getting murky. I feel like some of the style and pleasure from it becomes a battle for sales and exposure rather than the creative, honest process. Again, I could be wrong. I'll explain my position, but remember, it's just how it comes to me. You might not share my listening habits. Britpop. Okay, yes. The Verve was at the forefront of it, the sound, and that's important because the style was definitively impressive and collaboratively speaking right at the start, which wasn't the first incarnation of the band anyway. However, McCabe and Ashcroft were certainly in tune, especially when it came to the second incarnation, leading to urban hymns. which could possibly be the best Britpop album ever made, unless you kind of go back and say that Britpop started with the Beatles. Okay, I'll let you have that one. If you have not heard the entire album, there should be nothing stopping you from the songwriting to the excellent, unique guitar work and melodies. It's the most show-stopping record in its field, no question. That Helm Mad Richard, his nickname during those early years of the band, had the gift of songwriting for sure. Drug induced or sadness induced, or in recent cases, hopeful induction. He crafts wording with the melodies, as well as kind of a timing and pattern that just feels so damn smooth. It's like devouring a moist pudding filled dessert. They are heavily whipped in the pursuit of perfect blend of love, respect, search, loss, and the human condition. Yes, I'm name dropping the second album. They're sweet, but they're bitter. And despite the fact that I just name dropped into the most popular Verve song and Britpop song of all time, you know where I'm headed with this. Lovin' You is trapped in one or the other and struggling to blend for me. There are sounds and delivery that I'm expecting, and they come, but there are many where I hear more production differences, volume increases, and temperament that are kind of the album does flow of kind of one song is like above in its mix. It seems to be at war with the solo Richard Ashcroft, and sort of the cover's color and the acoustic side of this all don't match. Yes, that's nitpicky, but for me, Richard Ashcroft is a songwriting god, and I'm hanging on his every word. Out of These Blues is certainly the soloist, Ashcroft version that takes acoustic and sides against his melodic yet raw pursuits, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love the Verve. And most of the records, and I get that position, but this is Richard Ashcroft's solo. When suddenly we move to a rockin' higher volume increased thing with Heavy News, I'm a bit jolted. It's not what I expected to be, and it happens on the prior albums, and it also has him kind of creating this anthem-like approach with his signature. I mean, it works, but it doesn't linger long in the lick or in my memory of the writing or the words that he's utilizing. Then we're back to our regular scheduled program, which L'Amour, which seems like a logical choice next, considering it's the closest in cliche wording, but it's still mesmerizing in its timing, musicality, and the lingering effect of his vocal, his words, and the tone, and that bluesy Britpop. And since we're in a French mindset, Richard brings in Mirwais, an electronic French producer, to put in the club on the very next track. So now I'm a splattering in diversity, feeling like the Verve side is starting to win out on this record. And I'm still game, but this one, on our side of the pond, isn't going to gain traction. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care. I guess he wouldn't. The ebb and flow kind of continues, throwing in Find a Reason, which is the strongest lyrical and signature ballad on the record for me. But then we're to the title track, which is drenched heavily in the Vervitude, Britpop, and symphonic pre-recorded side. And while I know its place and how it relates to the catalog of his life, it does not feel like a title track. It becomes another mismatch for my ear. But I know Britain and Europe will probably be liberated by its repetitive club meets, strings, stretching approach. I get it. There's nothing bad about it. It's just not what I was expecting. I can live with hope as long as there's those in between and passionate positions that are nowhere near as forced as the Britpop extremes that keep happening on this record. I realize it seems boring to some that I'm doing this, but for me, it's a position. It's a reflective attachment that I have. Um, More passionate than those songs in between that are looking for a different kind of connection, a hook, a catchiness that for me didn't work at all, mostly. It's such a strange time, and I agree with Mr. Ashcroft there for sure. It's such a strange time to be alive, and we're still learning how to deal with it. And I also agree with him there. I agree with his approach to loving you as he tries to draw a message from concern, the knowledge that we're all searching for something. There is hope and a melody to it all. And here it is with this 2025 record, now his seventh studio album. He too seems like he is doing the same, experiencing it with us. That's the genuine part I like. The album melancholy ending brings me back to why I usually relate. His age is near my own. He grew up in the era I did, although it's across the water, but it's the same world. It's also got ridiculously too close to via media and immediacy, and there's no time for things to sink in. Therein lies the problem. We're sometimes not allowed our emotions to take these times, these days, and certainly generations after us, seeking instant gratification or truth without experience or the proper timetable in comparison to that of our own. It just seems to me that loving you is his experience in this time, processing and trying to offer a musical note, a lyrical position. And while drawing from a musical palette, and history, he's been very good at blending through the years. In 2025, this impression didn't find its way to me. But I have a feeling that the strong appreciation will come when the noise around me kind of settles. And it might be the same for you. Today is the day. Well, it is the day. Not the day I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be Saturday. Today is the day is the band, and the album is called Never Give In. You won't know just how deep this psychological music and lyrical warfare of doom, grunge, and even a track with lurking jazz um, I've been I've never experienced before. Never. Never, never, never. This ever expanding musicology of darkness goes through you from struggling mind to grasping at life's presence to last heart gasps. It is a recording experience that requires the entirety of it all, not for you to appreciate, judge, or understand, but so as to have said you experienced the entirety of it. For those of you that know today's the day, well, then you appreciate what I'm saying here. In fact, when looking back to their discography, I've not heard anywhere near all of their material, although I'm definitely thinking I'm going to want to expose this on Keep It Dark. Maybe the band will join me. That'd be fantastic. I'm certainly going to entertain a full catalog dive. I am not expecting it to be the same as this record. There's no question. For those of you that don't know, and I wasn't a person who really knew, you can treat this one of two ways. One, you can take it as a very stern warning as to what you're about to experience that cannot be easily categorized or referenced. Where this album starts is nowhere near where it blisters and peels, yeah, stabbing westward, and to where it ultimately winds up. Two, you can avoid it altogether thinking you know what to expect. And well, you would be missing out on one of the most intriguing and intense, emotional, heavy albums of the year. Never give in. Yes, never give in to stepping away from something hard or what might make you uncomfortable for even a few minutes. There's something in these statements, the incredible diversity that's assembled between industrial, sludge, noise rock, psychedelia, and a very different kind of psychedelic, and beyond that has me under a captivating, crushing spell. But it does leave a struggling impression, a heavy mark, which it's meant to. And it does it with both voices, and the music. I'm telling you, the music. When Never Give In starts, we're locked in like this Static X heavy riff and a Filter intense shoegaze. If you remember Filter hasn't had anything out in a while. I'm still trying to come to terms with the title track, Divide and Conquer, after 3 listens. Wow. But I do know that the weaponry of I Got Nothing continues the pace, the relentless psychological sludged harshness, and the vocalist Steve Austin. No, not the wrestler, although I think if the two met, it could be a throwdown you wouldn't expect. Um, how he does what he does throughout this record, as well as the entirety of the band's career, is astounding. This band's been doing this for a long time, and these are the same guys. This is Unknown Sunday. There's in other places could be. Um, what I hear, oh my God, evil horns, whether it's looped or live, who cares? Who knows? Harsh, devilish voices, experimental genre tampering noise rock, heavy metal, psychedelically unhinged madness that are enhanced by his oral storyteller vocality that punks up the nightmare to 11. Um, Psychic Wound perhaps has the best title for description in its 5-minute workings with 2 dark bridges and droning lyrics that meet complete shutdown at the end. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, because at some point everything was beautiful, and with the help of misunderstanding, nonchalant attitude, greed, narcissism, compulsive behaviors surrounding us at all corners, we're now involved in intentional psychological warfare, which is the title, which is the track that outcomes have no positivity possibility. The music has such a despair to it that it's transvexing. It's dominating and gorgeously placed for complete effect. And there are times where I hear the vocals that match a mindset. And it goes from the mindset of Afghan Wigs, Mark Lanigan, and all of this while the music burns through or above. The production here, the album I've heard from the past is the most flawless I've heard in the records I went back to. And it has to be on a music experience of this proportion. Never Give In has unexpected groove pleasures, but the biggest and darkest is pain and frustration. Which is like taking a Faith No More approach to a filthy, harsh jazz piano and a bass line, the effect of which is one of the most shocking and impressive of the year for a track on any album. The temper, anger, awareness of struggle is in every solitary piece of the music here, whether you hear it first off in harshness or it's lingering in the background, attempting to kind of choke the life out of a vocal a chord or even the riff. You could stop. You could turn it off. You could stop altogether and let the struggle win. You could drop off. Just stop believing you're needed in any of this. But the reality from this very non-traditional Nashville, Tennessee doom band, yeah, there's something you don't get, right? And from Steve Austin's songwriting perspective and the band's 25 plus years impressive continuance and convergence is to tell you that the only answer is perseverance, rising up somehow. Crazy, depressed, near suicidal, never give in, period. And to ensure their enduring approach, the heaviness will continue with a sister album that's supposedly coming in mid 2026. Geese getting killed. If you say it together, it sounds ridiculous, but it's something that happens here in upstate New York when they don't want to fly. They just want to walk across the road. It clever, the title. All right. What's more clever? Getting me sucked in on the opening track. Trinidad, where the Van Morrison meets Tom York, pulls a not so indie move, flashing into noise rock and avant garde jazz metal with a raging vocal that there's a bomb in his car. I tried. Unease, social tension, while the naming of Trinidad as the title is inexplicable. I'm intrigued. I'm sucked in more so than the opening track that went on radio was called Taxes. And of course, I don't listen to radio or singles in that case most of the time. So I didn't know about that at all. This is an art rock band from Brooklyn. I had experienced some things here and there. There was nothing that made my ears stand up and take notice until this one did so. And wow. Getting Killed, the first album without their founding guitarist, who decided to finally go back to pursue academia, which is odd because that was kind of where they all were. They were going to disband, and then kind of some success hit, and they decided to stick together and not go into academia. But anyway, this all starts with Cameron Winter as a songwriter, vocalist, keyboardist. The choice to add in JPEG Mafia on Trinidad, which I didn't know at the time of listening, was a very interesting stroke of madness, but I have to say that worked well. But this was not the lead single that came out. So I'm assuming that with Taxes, you still got the same viewpoint, the same aggression there, but it's against a different drum structure and melody that doesn't share the idea of intensity so far as Trinidad does. In fact, it shares a Tom York meets Van Morrison lingering offset vocal that Cameron just weaves. It's a different song to start with, but it's somewhat the same revelatory connection. So Geese, as an indie band, is making some very cool sound explorations, upsetting their indie apple cart, which is very cool. And it's completely digging the musical mayhem they got, the melodies, and there's an intensity being pushed forth from it all, as well as throughout the entire record. So this isn't your standard Geese record if you're a Geese follower. I don't know if that's right. However, despite all of that great, intriguing, intensified instrumentation, layering, experimental indie rock, the art rock fusion, invocations, I'm still drawn, disturbed, and getting killed by the vocal stirrings, as I'm sure I'm meant to. But what's happening for me is my ear is holding those. It's in the holding of the notes and parallels that I believe are injected too long and oversung for some reason. I realize the music's amped angle and often quick and bit perverse in a way until they hold on too long or to a note or a phrasing that of which is the instrument could have done this and it was trying to do it, or maybe it even trails off instead. It's how my ears are hearing this. And for some reason, after multiple listens, Getting Killed, which I believe to be very talented and genre pressing indie rock, from music to songwriting, it's a very odd position, which with how the vocal might become disconnected for digital listeners and not those for the record buying public. This could be a very different live format listen, that's for sure. Considering the mix of talent, the exploration nature of an album and singles I've heard from the past albums. I truly enjoyed the lyrical passion of it. the musical intensities, bridge work, and sound choices. But I was hooked on that. But the deeper the listen, the vocals started to tax my own scoring and overall first impression. But I'll never forget Trinidad or the structuring of Cobra, which makes me leave you with this. It is like it's unpredictability. Unpredictability in its unpredictability, intense need to be swagger and have swagger, and a vexing perspective lyrically. It could be one of those album experiences that sucks you in and keeps you there, because keeps you getting killed over and over again, finding more and more uncertainty and really loving it. I have a multitude of extras here. So let's get right into it. Matthew Good of Canada has been in the music industry in Canada for a very long time. He is, to me, an icon over there of the lyrical position and songwriting ability of Stream of Consciousness. He does it better than anybody that in this. He just does. This is 0 hours. This is an EP. I'm not sure that Matthew Good has ever been in a right frame of peace. But this is a diverse, quick set that features some risks and even an instrumental tuned to a horn jazz, which I found very, very interesting. It's the last track on the record. Matthew has always struck me as a soul searching in a depressive arena, struggling with finding love and peace in the world and how it affects him, his friends, and us, all of us. He's a stream of consciousness writer that has always suited him musically and passionately, and a connection that has served him well through time and has served us, the listener, extremely well over time. The times are always upon us, and in this EP, he's here again, searching, struggling, but using other types of music trends to settle his scores. Just listen to Triage.
Keep me out of coffins, fast life getting repetitive, word bond, get me out of the triage, been here for so long. What do you say becomes of us after the weight of our life is gone? What do you say becomes of us after the weight of our life is gone?
There's a thought process, but always immersive in lyrical, in something that we can chew on mentally, and we can chew on that for years. And that's what I love about it. Despite the brevity of 0 hours as being an EP, he's done this before, and but still go back to it and still get something again from those type of things. And it's a very well put together EP. Next up, the Autumn Defense, Here and Nowhere. Wilco and Uncle Tupelo have a hand in this record, but it's not the way you were thinking in the jangle pop sense. It's there. It's still a centerpiece. Centerpieces. We take in a subtle music level and with an excellent composition and range that utilizes a softer approach in delivery. And some of it glows and flows gently. And well, others might have seemed like it was like it started as a bit of filler. You don't know where these are coming from. I mean, you're writing for Wilco. These songs could have been written a long time ago, but Here and Nowhere does settle into a familiarity and placement, especially with Hearts Arrive, that indie folk rock pattern. The vocals are honest, they're untethered and harmonically in tune. It's beautiful, right? You've got Patrick Anthony Samson, and one of those Wilco members that I don't follow as close as, like the Nels Klein and of course Tweedy's, everywhere, every place. And I'm not sort of smitten with him. In fact, neither am I with Sterat. But the combination here, these two guys, and they've been doing this a while. That's been, I don't know how long they've been doing this. Caught me on this go round more than any record.
Nothing feels like you. I've gotta reach out and ask why. It's all the things you do, knowing what's lasting and right. Like you said, maybe you're right. I never felt that long for the night. The night you said goodbye. I'll take you out of your mind.
And I think that's the pace and the great work and delivery of Underneath the Rollers that kind of really started to suck me in. It's kind of like stuck between this Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Steely Dan, and Eagles kind of blend. The album does have a throwback vibe, but still holds to some indie sounds, impressions, pace changes to push into today's ear. It is a very nice record, a great sounding record that should definitely hit adult contemporaries deep in the cockles of their undying devotion to the eras gone by. A high recommendation. Then we switch completely to a pianist, Kelly Moran. Don't Trust Mirrors. Now, pianist, but in this end, she's in a different pool here, which I find very, very interesting. The indie piano progressive approach has an interesting production sense here, and maybe a slightly avant-garde approach for the piano and multi-instrumentalist producer to, I don't know, put the piano in a different position musically and tonal. Let's give you a taste of the smooth and playfulness of this and how the piano is managed differently in the instrumentation that Kelly Moran has decided to use. Now, the title track even included the folktronica expressionless Bibio in the mix, which definitely has an interestingly targeted collaboration. They're on the record label. The album is extremely tone and its extremities. The art of the piano here is almost shattering, tinkering with glass, reflective qualities, and that's the secret to this record. A quote from Warp Records fits this so well. Magnificent textural refractions, reflecting light, hard edges, and the full spectrum of embracing true embodiment. That embodiment of a recording, I don't know, she just sticks to this. And it's very self-aware. It fits to the timetable that she's kind of started this in, which is pre-COVID or during COVID, and this album wasn't supposed to come out. Now it is. It's really different, and I think a lot of piano trademark people will kind of enjoy some of this. It's obtuse in certain aspects, but the production quality is very well put together. Okay, so let's get to Public Enemy. Why not, right? Come on. Black Sky Over the Projects, Apartment 2025, maybe. There's some other title in there. Is it still the true Public Enemy? Yeah, I think it is. I do believe its surface is slightly modified and glistened to be something of more current production. There's a rock to this, and when it comes to the whole record, Black Sky Over the Projects has all the elements with you get Flavor Flav's in there and everything you would expect.
But even the baddest savages eventually get humbled by the averages. Donkey of the day, use an ass with no pants. Addicted to the screen. to do what you be and you. River deep, mountain high, like the best of your crew. Leader of the pack that don't give a track about nobody praying in the world they be playing. Wow, swole your ego. You think you're gonna get away with crime? Cameras is everywhere, dog. This ain't 1985.
Let 'em know, Chuck, let's go.
Y'all got to change your evil ways.
But not heavy doses. But it's honest, straight up Public Enemy. Fans of the band will love that they're sticking to the rap guns and and not diverging into this rap hip gaze kind of qualities. It's not Drakean. It's not overproduced. It's right where it normally be. These tracks, beats, and hip hop structures, they're foundationally represented, while they let the lyric and the timing kind of exacerbate the current situation and get you riled up. And I love their tay-ta-tay between Flay and the other vocalist, which I can't think of at the moment. It's cool. It's decent record. It's exactly what you'd expect. Their age, their embodiment, everything. It's good. It's really good. Finally, I'm going to end on a weird one here. I don't know, weird one. It's just a terminology I've never heard before. Egg punk. Snooper is the name of the band. The album is called Worldwide, and they are they're getting hot and heavy. So egg punk. Definition, would you like that? I did. I needed one. An internet digital micro genre of punk that sort of started in 2010, but might be loosely based on Devo. Well, I'm not kind of sold on that, but whatever. It blends synth pop, garage punk, and new wave with humorous and experimental aesthetics, with maybe silly vocals, weird sounds, loops, drum. Yes, and the drum machine. Yep. The term egg punk originated from a joke chart comparing it to its opposite, chain punk. But that's a story for another day. What is this? What we got a drum machine on this one, but we definitely have a punk rock band that has a slight fit to the things I just mentioned. Nashville. All right. I don't know what it is with Nashville this week, but a Nashville doom band, and I got a Nashville egg punk band. Not exactly where you'd think punk would come from these days, but the band found rhythms in an old vintage Zoom MRT3 drum machine, and it's let it slay and sway them on Worldwide, and the rest might be egg punk 2025 history. They are killing it. They're having a lot of lyrical fun, and they bounce and crush it. It's what you'd expect. Female-led vocal. It has that raw, scratchy, fuzzy kind of approach. That it's not clean by any means, and punk is never meant to be clean. If it's clean, it's probably not punk enough. But it wasn't on my radar to be this important. Kind of one of those albums I would listen to and then talk about maybe in the year, just looking through my entire list. But I figured this had to be elevated here because it has a micro genre, and it's getting a lot of good praise and press. What did you think of these albums? Let us know in the comments. Like what you like, leave what you don't. Subscribe to the channel for more. We'll be back again. It's next week. I will be doing this on Saturday. Dan will be joining me, and St. Paul and the Broken Bones will definitely be one of the albums, just to give you a little precursor. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, of course, the YouTube. You got articles, videos, podcasts. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Unknown Sundays is going to be starting up again. I apologize for the long delay, but I'm looking forward to returning to that show. It could be as early as this Sunday. As always, thank you for watching, and happy listening.